And Bernard Baruch, who had made millions and millions and millions during World War I, selling ammunition and equipment and food and so forth to the British and the French, came to FDR and said, "I've got a plan to get us out of this." And I've already talked to Henry Morgenthau, who was the treasurer, and he was Jewish. And they were obsessed, of course, with destroying Germany at that point. And FDR said, "Well, what's your plan?" He said, "Well, we've got to get a war started between Germany, the British, and the French. If we can get that war started, then we'll have another stalemate the way we did in 1914, 15, 16. And we can do what we did then and make huge quantities of money." And FDR said, "Well, that's a brilliant idea. What's your plan?" And he said, "Well, the plan, very simply, is I've got this man in Britain. He's a politician. He's broke. And we can rescue him from bankruptcy. And we'll get him to lead the anti-Hitler crusade and bring Britain into war with Germany." And he said, "Well, who's that?" He said, "Winston Churchill." And FDR flew into a rage and said, "That drunk, that buffoon, I knew him in Versailles. He's an idiot. He's not going to know what to do." And he said, "Don't worry about that. We'll make sure he does what needs to be done." And ultimately, he and the gentleman in London, who was instrumental in helping to finance Churchill, bail him out of bankruptcy, met with Churchill. And Churchill then, at the end of the meeting, said, "Well, you realize, of course, that when this starts, you'll be over there and we'll be over here." And they smiled and said, "Yes, that's right." But he said, "Just do as we say and all will be good." And so Churchill then becomes Bernard Baruch's man, the man of international Jewish finance, and he drags Britain and the British Empire into war. And it was a very easy thing to do. He was very eloquent and he was very popular, and he fired the imagination of the British people, and the rest is history. It ultimately destroys the British Empire and British national power. Well, we're in a very similar situation, except that we're not talking about a politician who is broke and needs financing in order to be successful. We're talking about people in the Congress and in the White House in Washington who are all indebted to massive quantities of money that have been paid into their reelection campaign funds for years. And the Israeli lobby works as follows. This gentleman shows up representing the lobby. He may or may not be Jewish, by the way, but he represents the lobby, and he meets with the senator or the congressman and says, "What we want is to contribute to your future reelection, or we want to help you be elected. However, we want your solemn commitment that you will support Israel, and whatever billions of dollars are required by the Israelis, that you will stand with us." And then they make it very clear, if you don't do this, well, we'll simply fund your opponent, Democrat or Republican. It makes no difference to us. And in most cases, for many, many years, people have said, "Well, sure, I'm 100% for Israel, not a problem." And people have been elected over and over and over